It is not wonderful if Trump had sex with a lot of children. But as Christians, we need to forgive. So, guys, you know how that whole Epstein file thing happened and everybody got really upset and Trump got, like, super, really upset at reporters? You remember that? That was weird. Anyway, let me go ahead and show you some fan art real quick before we get into, well, that. But this is from Will Shoutout. It says, a flashing warning, and holy fucking shit. I am terrified of this individual. I do not know what they are going to do to me. This is another fan art of my evil doppelganger Suris that y'all just keep on throwing my way? Jesus Christ. Thank you very much for the fan art, Will. I appreciate it greatly, but holy crap, that is terrifying. As always, thank you for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, I'd also want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. I've also got a Patreon if you want to support what I do. But for those of you who don't quite know what I do, well, let's go ahead and get right into that, because we've got some stuff to cover. Now, again, I mentioned the Epstein files were mishandled, let's say, recently, and as a result, the Epstein client list, which we have been told exists and was on Pam Bondi's desk, just went up into the atmosphere and doesn't exist anymore, which is interesting. Cinder, thank you for redeeming your points, friend. You freaking degenerate. Ikiri, the Space Kobold, thank you for resubscribing as well. So, while that is super interesting that you can mishandle such an important bit of information, there is something that I hadn't quite predicted. The fact that the Trump MAGA faithful would be defending Trump as if he was in the Epstein files and it was fine. Here, let me show you the tweet that Saki showed me that led me to going down this particular rabbit hole. This is from a guy named Texas Patriot Mike, and he says, Trump is on the list. Who cares? What man wouldn't partake? It's not like it meant anything. It was just emotion. Now, Mike. You're a pedophile. Those are the words of a child predator.
We're not here to start no trouble. We're legally required to do the sex offender shovel.
Anybody who would willingly say, what man wouldn't partake? Well, I can tell you which man wouldn't partake. The one who says, what if that were my daughter? That's the man who wouldn't partake. The one who said, what if that was my friend's daughter? That person wouldn't partake. The person who said, this is a fucking child, and I am not attracted to a child, that person would not partake. Texas Patriot Mike, I'm just kind of curious, what kind of person that shouldn't be allowed near 500, like within 500 feet of a school, would have an opinion like this? Just curious, but it's not just Texas Patriot Mike. Unfortunately, it's quite a few people. Now, remember, Trump himself had this response when pressed about the Epstein files.
Sure. Your memo and release yesterday in Jeffrey.
Well, at least he would have that response if I could actually get the volume to function on this website. That would be fantastic. So let me go ahead and just increase that volume control just a little bit so you guys can actually hear from that website.
It left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
So remember, when pressed about the issue, instead of being able to actually have anything of substance to say, Trump goes, "Are we still talking about him? He's old news. I've got so much on my plate right now. My history as a pedophile might not actually be something I need to be talking about right this moment." So, again, this is the guy who they are rooting for. The guy whose defense is effectively, well, there's other things I have to worry about. Now, there is something I found during this rabbit hole jumping down, which is, not new news here, but here, let me read this off to you, and I just want to know what your responses to this would be. Please, in the comment section, let me know what you would say if you were, say, the jury dealing with this particular situation we're going to be going through. Plaintiff was enticed by promises of money and a modeling career to attend a series of parties with other similarly situated minor females held at a New York residence that was being used by the defendant, Jeffrey Epstein. At least 4 of the parties were attended by defendant Trump. On information and belief, by this time in 1994, defendant Trump had known defendant Epstein for 7 years, saying, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy." Trump booms on a speakerphone. "He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life." And knew that plaintiff was then just 13 years old. Defendant Trump initiated sexual conduct with plaintiff at 4 different parties. On the 4th and final sexual encounter with defendant Trump tied plaintiff to a bed, exposed himself to plaintiff, and then proceeded to forcibly rape plaintiff. During the course of this savage sexual attack, plaintiff loudly pleaded with Donald Trump to stop, but with no effect. Defendant Trump responded to plaintiff's pleas by violently striking plaintiff in the face with his open hand and screaming that he would do whatever he wanted. Immediately following this rape, Donald Trump threatened plaintiff that were she ever to reveal any of the details of the sexual and physical abuse of her by defendant Trump, plaintiff and her family would be physically harmed, if not killed. Defendant Epstein had sexual conduct with the plaintiff at 2 of the parties. The second sexual encounter with defendant Epstein took place after the plaintiff had been raped. Okay, so we've got old court documents. We have old court documents that basically allege that Trump is a rapist, and I'm not going to allege that. I think it's perfectly reasonable to say that he is one. So, unless he plans on actually hitting me with something like defamation, then I'm gonna keep saying it because it seems to be true, right? Okay. Now, we've got fun quotes from this. Tons of fun quotes from this that we could analyze if we so chose, but I think it's better to just take a moment to breathe and remember that real people were hurt by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein and many others. And yet, there are opinions like this floating around on the internet right now. So, fan JD Vance says, "Would you support releasing the Epstein files, even if it could send Republicans to prison?" So, Brad T. Faciti says, "I would say no. The future of our country is too important. It is not wonderful if Trump had sex with a lot of children. But as Christians, we need to forgive. And it is good that he is the president. Yes, even if he rapes women and girls." Brad, my guy, are you aware that, rape apologia makes you about as bad as the rapist? Are you? Like, is that a thing you understand? I'm just kind of hoping.
I'll refrain from touching my neighbor's kids again.
There's more. So, whenever people showcase during any of these interactions that, hey, I'll just leave this here. Jeffrey Epstein introduced 14-year-old victim to Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. You know, stuff that those court documents basically talk about. The immediate response is deflection. Posting, well, what about the fact that Trump banned Jeffrey Epstein from Mar-a-Lago after sex criminal hit on member's daughter, which was claimed in a book? What does that... He couldn't have done anything to children. Look, he didn't like Epstein at the very end. He banned him from Mar-a-Lago after hitting on someone publicly. Yeah, my guy, that doesn't make Trump a good guy here. It just means that he saw that Epstein flew too close to the sun and knew when to fucking cut him off. That's it. That's all that means. That's nothing. And then, of course, we have this fun clip with an interesting response. Let's go ahead and...
Right, well,
of course, I would say that, but once more, we don't have volume control doing what it needs to do. So let's just move this needle up here and then go back here and then...
look, they've been promoting some, like, wild conspiracy theories about what's on there. We don't know what's true and what's not true. And if there's nothing to implicate Donald Trump, then release the files. What's the problem with releasing them? That's what they've been demanding. And in this...
So...
right, well, look, they've been...
the long and short of that, Democrats are effectively saying, some Democrats are saying, that if there's nothing that implicates Trump, and that is what the claim is going to be, then what's the problem with showing the files? After all, isn't this the same argument that police give when they want to search your vehicle without a warrant? Well, if you have nothing to hide, then what's the problem? Anywho, response to this is... only the most infantile Democrats believe there might be something in those files related to Trump. Every adult and most of the children of the racist Dem Party realize that if there was anything in there that would make Trump look bad, it would have been released in 2016, 2020, and 2024. No, not necessarily. No. So, there are plenty of people who would not want those files to be shown around because, well, it implicated them as well. After all, Jeffrey Epstein was connected to a lot of powerful people, and it is naive as hell to believe that he was the only one partaking of the, forbidden fruits of his island, let's go ahead and say. So, no, Eagle 1 with 3 different flags in your bio? No. Democrats aren't good guys. Republicans aren't bad guys. Everybody is just a politician who lies for what they want. So, if there were politicians who had access to the files and chose not to show them, I'm just going to assume that they were worried about who was going to be harmed by that. I personally want everybody who could be harmed by the release of the Epstein files to be harmed by it, because the people who are going to be harmed by that are most likely going to be the people who actually hurt children. So, yeah, no, I'm sorry, Eagle. This is not cogent logic. Then we go to yet another one. A post going, of course there's no record of this. I mean, why would you have to document any of this? Stop the bullshit! They would have nailed him to the cross if this was true. Trump has been protecting children for years! Look it up, bitch! My favorite thing about the do-your-own-research people and the look-it-up people are the fact that those same people never actually provide any evidence. Just a really loud argument, or they'll post, again, a screenshot of a title of a news article that doesn't actually say what they think it says in relation to their argument. Always, always, always. But don't worry, we have more. So, in response to that same clip I showed you earlier, we have breaking. Censored guy tells us where the children are that you've been grooming. that came across the border for your sex trade. I'm not the one that spaced this paragraph out, by the way. They're the ones that chose the period there and then the exclamation mark there. You're so fucking stupid. If Trump was on that list would have been released a long time ago. And again, I don't think that's the case, because if there are multiple people who were Epstein's clients, then those people would likely have tried to keep that list as far away from the public eye as possible to prevent their own careers from backsliding. Because not everybody has, the super amazing warrior of Texas Patriot Mike saying that Trump's on the list. He just raped people and it doesn't matter. It's fine. Not everybody has warriors like that in their court. So yeah, no, plenty of politicians would not have wanted to actually show those files to people. I don't know what's in them. I'm just putting two and two together. And then we have a post right here showing, this is how Trump actually thought about this stuff and talked about this stuff a while ago.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it.
Yeah, probably will be. We'll probably let that client list go out. Don't worry. We're not gonna pretend it doesn't exist at the last possible second and then have a whole bunch of people claim that they'll actually protect me for being a fucking pedo. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. And then we have a response like this one from Dave Lawrence. They can't and shouldn't. The only reason that those files do not exist now has to be that they are so incriminating that they would end not Trump but the whole administration. There can be no other reason for those in power to protect known child abusers. Ah, yes, the whole admin, all of it's incriminated. I sure, why not? I'm gonna be honest, tailspin all of DC. Get rid of every politician in there right now and reset. We only have a handful of good ones anyway at this point. Just reset. It's fine. Then we have Elon Musk, who has been throwing his name into the ring on this a lot, saying, how can people be expected to have faith in Trump if he won't release the Epstein files? And then, once again, we have Trump's MAGA super soldiers coming in with the save. This is disappointing, but the truth is, we agree with Trump on 80 to 90% of what he says and the policies he supports. I can't just turn around and work with people whose values go against ours simply because we disagree with him on 5%. 5% is child rape. The 5% is child rape. That's what it is. The 5% you disagree on is whether it's okay to rape a child. I think that's a pretty strong point of contention. I'm actually pretty okay not supporting somebody who's okay with child rape. I'm very okay with not supporting somebody at all once I find out that they have raped a child. That's perfectly fine by me. That's reasonable, right? And this isn't some, silly little, he was 19 and his girlfriend was 16 type of shit. No, this is Trump, adult with tons of money, power, and fame, with a fucking 13-year-old. I'm sorry, but no. We are well past any, blurry lines that may exist. Those don't exist here at all, in any way, shape, or form. Kimmy Wang, I'm sorry, but no. No one agrees 100% of the time, and we all have different perspectives. Not on child rape. We don't have different opinions on that, or we shouldn't have different opinions on that. Also, let's be honest. We don't know what we don't know. There's always more going on behind the scenes that we can see. Not everyone has a god complex. You're right. But, this guy right here is also correct. Is the remaining 10% pedophilia? Yes. Yes, it is. Jesus. And then, of course, we have more geniuses throwing their, whatever you want to call it, into the mix. Those files are no one's business except for the DOJ, the FBI, and God. I also love the taste of boot. It's just so scrumptious. I trust and have faith in Trump, and it has nothing to do with releasing, I release all the time when I look at Trump, by the way, or not releasing the Epstein files. My guy, yeah, comment on the bottom saying that the releasing of the Epstein files is one of the things that Trump ran on. I can understand that. I agree with that. But no, I'm sorry. But whether or not our president is a child rapist is not between the FBI, the DOJ, and God. It's between him and the people who fucking vote. I'm sorry, but Honeybee DC, you look more like a wasp the longer I look at your fucking profile. Then we have, well, the same thing that Caroline Leavitt tried to use as defense. Wouldn't all the incriminating Epstein files be child porn? How does one release child porn to the public? Well, for one, you censor the kids, right? For two, you don't censor the client list. Because the client list is just a list. That's not porn in any way, shape, or form. And we have a word for videos that show people harming children. One of those words can be porn. Another one of them can be evidence. One of those words is just evidence. It's evidence that somebody hurt a kid. If you want to release those files to the public, the way you do so is you blur out or you block out the actual victims so that we can see that the politicians who did the deed are there. Again, there is a word for this. It is just fucking evidence. Oh, and then, we're going to end on this one for just pure political brain rot. I have faith that he knows what he's doing. I voted for him because I trust him. Whatever the reason, it's necessary to be this way for now. Trust Trump. Well, I'm sorry, Miss Beck 71, Trump 2024. No, it's not actually necessary to be a child rapist. I can't actually think of any scenario where raping a child is necessary in any way, shape, and form. Sure, you can conceive of some hypothetical where, like, a guy says he'll shoot you and the kid if you don't do some heinous act. But again, at that point, the rape's not necessary. It's something that is being imposed on you artificially by an evil son of a bitch with a gun. That's not the same thing. So before somebody tries to come into the comment section with some cute, actually, I can conceive of a scenario. You know what? I'm glad that you can conceive of scenarios of yourself with children. That's just wonderful. I'm glad that you've thought about this so much. Jesus Christ. And that's it for all that. Man, what do we do about this? Well, one of the things we can do is we can use 5 calls. It's a very, very useful resource for getting in contact with your politicians so that you can pressure them about anything that you think matters. In this case, one of the things that I think that matters a lot to pressure both Democrats and Republicans on is forcing the Epstein client list to be released and forcing the Epstein files to be made available to the public. If the truth is a good thing for all of us, by and large, then maybe, in general, it's a good idea to parrot the truth from either side of the political fucking aisle. Nick S. says, let me clarify, Trump thinks. I do think he thinks, actually. But 5 calls is probably one of the best things you're going to be able to use here. ResistBot is also helpful. You can use that to make sure that you've got tons of just flood going at your senators, your representatives, the people who are ostensibly there to represent you as an individual. You can do all of that using those 2 mechanisms. And, if you live in the DC area, you do have the ability to go to a session of Congress and talk to the representatives there. Those are options you have if you are geographically lucky and or unlucky enough. I don't know. I was in Washington, D.C., and it was really hard to find a bathroom that wasn't inside a restaurant. I don't know how I feel about that, but that was my experience there. I don't know if yours is different. But anyway, that's it for all of that. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon, and please just don't engage in apologia like this. It's gross. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Limor Pinku, Love Bunny Games, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Aurora, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.